today we are learning about yet another important function of human resource management, that is the compensation management, that is what amount of remuneration is to be given to the employees in return of their services to the organization. So up till now we have learnt as to what is compensation management, what are the key factors that determine as to what compensation an employee would be getting from the organization. So moving further, let's discuss about the functions of compensation management. So we are going to learn about these four main compensation management functions, that is the equity function, the welfare function, the motivation function and the retention function. So as far as the equity function is concerned, equity basically ensures that the employees are fairly paid and that their worth is appropriately compared. So it ensures that more difficult jobs are paid more and that they are fairly compensated in comparison to similar jobs in the market. So as I already stated that every industry has its own remuneration norms or compensation norms. So you as an employer must ensure that your employees are being fairly paid according to the industry norms and also according to their potential, so that the difficult jobs are paid more and they are fairly compensated. So that is the equity function of the compensation management. Moving further, the welfare function. So this function is to take care of the employees' psychological and social needs and their satisfaction. So whenever we are working in an organization, at the back of our mind we have our social needs. We want to be ensured that our families would be taken care of. Whatever needs or desires we have, that would be fulfilled, and these needs and demands can be fulfilled only with the help of monetary functions or money. So this is the welfare function of the compensation management, that the employees basically they worry about their family and the liability should be reduced and their self-esteem needs to be met to allow them to work without stress. So if I know that I have a particular amount in my bank, and even if certain accident happens or something bad happens to me, my organization has paid me enough so to take care of my family. So that is the welfare function of the compensation management. Moving further is the motivation function. So it encourages an employee to take further challenges, perform better and develop oneself so for superior positions. So that is the motivation that an employee gets from the compensation that the organization is paying. So this function therefore takes care of the career plans, the advancements, the training and development activities of the employee. So you need to have that motivation that whenever I perform better, whenever I take challenges, my organization recognizes that and they pay me more. So that motivation function is also undertaken by the compensation management. The next is the retention function. So today human resources are being considered as a valuable asset to the organization, and because of retaining and developing knowledge bank, the retention of employees has become an important function of compensation management. So it is when an employee goes out from your organization or quits the job, it is not just that that employee is going, but whatever knowledge he has gained, that knowledge is also lost. So it is very important for the organizations to maintain and retain their employees and their knowledge banks. So giving a good compensation to your employees can be beneficial as far as retaining them and retaining their knowledge bank is concerned. So that is how the retention function of the compensation management also works. Now moving further to the next aspect of compensation is the components of compensation. So compensation as a whole is made up of different components that work as an aid for an employee after retirement or in case of some accident or injury. So what are these components that constitute what we call as compensation? Let's learn about each of these components one by one. So these are the four basic components of any compensation that you get. First is the wage or salary, but there is difference between wage and salary. We will learn about that also. Then there is dearness and other allowances. Dearness allowance is the DA that we get. Then is the incentives that the organization gives. And the fourth is the fringe benefits or perquisites, also called as perks. So we are going to learn about these four components of compensation. So first one is the wage. So what is the wage? Well, wage is the remuneration paid to workers appointed on hourly, daily or weekly basis in return for the services they render. Now these wages, they vary according to physical and mental requirement of the job, and wages can be minimum wage, fair wage and living wage. So these are the three types of wages, and let's learn about these wages also. So if we say minimum wage, what is a minimum wage? A minimum wage is that wage which is sufficient to meet the basic needs of a worker and his family, and this minimum wage has to be paid to the worker irrespective of the capacity or of the industry to pay. So we learned that the paying capacity will also determine the compensation that an employee gets, but when we talk of minimum wage, this is the minimum amount that any employer has to pay, irrespective if he or she is able to pay or not, but this is the minimum amount that any employee must get. Talking of fair wage, a fair wage is the wage which is above the minimum wage but below the living wage. So it is again fixed between the minimum wage and the capacity to pay by the industry. So say minimum wage is rupees 100 per day, but you have the capacity to pay maybe 150 per day. So your fair wage will be 150. It is more than the minimum wage, and it lies between the minimum wage and the capacity that an organization is willing to pay. Next is the living wage. Living wage is the wage that provides some of the comforts of life. It is certainly more than the previous two wages that we talked of, and it provides certain amenities considered necessary for the well-being of any worker. So these are the three types of wages. Moving further is the salary. So as I said that wage is different from salary. So salary refers to the remuneration paid on the employees, paid to the employees appointed on monthly or annual basis in return for the services rendered. So whereas wage was based on day-to-day basis or weekly basis, salary is the amount that is given on a monthly or annual basis. So thus it refers to the monthly rate of pay irrespective of the number of hours put in by employees. So in wage we said it is the hourly rate, how many number of hours that a worker is working, but when we talk of salary, it is irrespective of the hours you put in working. Next is the allowances. So these are the dearness allowance, the allowances such as house rent allowance, conveyance allowance and leave travel allowances. So under section 3 of the Minimum Wages Act, the DA is described as the cost of living allowance. So it is increased as the cost of living increases, so is the DA. So it is given basically to protect the real wages of workers during inflation. However, inclusion of all these allowances in the compensation depends on the nature and type of job, contents of job, place of job, terms and conditions of the appointment, as well as the capacity of the employer. So though all these are included in the compensation, but it is not necessary that all these will be included, and the amount of these are also determined by the capacity of the employer. Moving further, the next ingredient or the component of compensation is incentives. So these are the rewards that are paid in addition to the wages. So these incentives can be monetary or not, that motivates or compensates an employee for performance above standard. So payment of incentive depends on the productivity, the sales and profit of the organization. So the more sales and more profit that the organization earns, the more incentives it gives to its employees. Next ingredient is the fringe benefits. So it is a general term which is used to describe any of a variety of non-wage or supplemental benefits that employees receive in addition to their regular wages. So it is in addition to what they are getting, and mostly these are in form of provident fund, gratuity, medical care, hospitalization, accident relief, paid holidays, health and group insurance, pension, etc. So these are certain, these are called the fringe benefits. Then comes the perquisites, or in short form they are called as perks. So they are the special benefits which are made available only to the top executives of an organization. So every single employee does not get the perks, only the top executives mostly get the perks from an organization. And what does perks include? Well, perks include the company car, a furnished house, stock option scheme, some membership of some clubs, and paid holidays, etc. Now moving further, what is the importance of a compensation system? Why do we need to have a compensation system? So friends, an effective system of remuneration is highly significant because several problems relating to the personnel or employees, they center around one element, and that element is remuneration. So many employees at times they absent themselves from work, often because they feel they are not paid enough. So if you feel that your employees are absenting themselves, they are not engaged while working, that means they are not happy with the compensation system. Then the remuneration must fulfill the expectations and aspirations of employees and exploit their energies for the benefit of the organization. And with time, at times the expectations and aspiration, demands, needs of the employees, they do change. So is your compensation system in sync with the needs and demands of the employees? If not, then you need to change your compensation system. So attractive compensation, it enables an organization to attract, retain and motivate competent people. Then employees' longevity of service in a particular organization, it depends more on the non-financial benefits. But at the same time, the role of financial benefits cannot be ruled out. So an organization must try and have a balance between the financial and the non-financial benefits that they are giving to its employees. So when these benefits are given to the employees will be retained and their longevity in the organization will be determined. So employees feel satisfied or dissatisfied with his or her remuneration. If you are not satisfied with the remuneration, it is pertinent that you will leave the organization. But on the other hand, if you are satisfied, then you will be retained and motivated and engaged while working. So employees, they get motivated to perform better when their past performance is rewarded adequately. So this is also very important, that every employee wants appreciation in terms of at times monetary rewards. So if you have performed well, but your performance has not been recognized, has not been appreciated, then the next time your performance will decline because you feel that your performance has not been recognized. So when you have a good compensation system, you recognize and you motivate your employees to perform better all the times. So in the absence of a rational payment system, employees are likely to be overpaid or underpaid. So these are the two, I would say, conditions that come into place when you are not having a good compensation system. Either you are overpaying your employees or you are underpaying them. So in both the cases, it will be detrimental for the financial health of the organization. Then there are a number of labor acts which need to be complied with by an organization, and if there is non-compliance of any provision, it can make the organization guilty. So if you are having a good compensation system in compliance with the governmental provisions, then you are saved. But if you are not complying with these provisions, then the employees can sue the organizations also. And a properly designed wage and salary system, it helps the company avoid such possibilities of the organization being guilty of non-compliance. So you must have a good compensation system, and the compensations should be managed well by the HR leaders. So finally, the primary goal of a wage policy in any country should be the promotion of economic development. If economic development has been meager and all-round development is stunted, one of the reasons might well be the failure of the wage policy to contribute adequately to the process of economic development. So friends, up till now we learnt about the role of compensation management, the importance of compensation management, and I said that it is an important function of the human resource managers. So as HR leaders, what can you do to ensure effective compensation management? So the first and foremost thing is that as an HR leader, you have to develop and apply a compensation philosophy. So we learnt what is a compensation philosophy, but it is not just that you have developed a compensation philosophy, it is also important that you apply and implement the same. So it formally documents the company policies regarding salaries, bonuses and benefits, and it demonstrates a company's commitment to transparency. So we learnt about how a compensation philosophy works, how it is made. So it ensures that the companies have a transparent compensation system or compensation philosophy. The next step is that explain the compensation plan. So HR managers, they can clarify the components of the compensation plan to the candidates and the new joiners, so that you help attract and retain the top-notch talent, or the competent, or the performers, the star performers of your organizations are retained when you explain the components of the compensation plan to them. The next you can do is design a robust compensation strategy. So HR leaders can collaborate with managers and specialists to offer all inclusive compensation plans as well as generous benefits to improve their people's quality of life. Then you can assess the results. So HR leaders can analyze the results of compensation management to see what's working and what is not working through a compensation scorecard, which can improve the efficacy of the compensation management. So you can see that if you are giving bonuses, you are giving pay hikes, does it help retain your employees or not, or what is that what your employees need? Is it the monetary benefits that you are giving, or is it the non-monetary benefits that the employees want? So you can assess these results and you can devise the future plans accordingly. Now coming to devising a compensation plan. So how do you actually devise a compensation plan? So any compensation plan must be understandable, workable and acceptable. So you must keep in mind these three aspects whenever you are devising or designing a compensation plan. Is it understandable? Is it workable? Is it acceptable by the organization and the employees? So make sure it is all three. So the compensation scheme must have two components. First is the base rate and the scope for increasing the base rate. So your base rate should be such that you can easily increase it with the increasing inflation in the economic system. So that is how you devise a compensation plan. So these are the steps that determine a remuneration plan. So it starts with job description, job evaluation, job hierarchy, pay survey and pricing jobs. So let's learn about each of these steps one by one. So job descriptions are crucial in designing a pay system, for they help to identify the important job characteristics. So what skills are required to perform a job? So we learned that while you are designing the compensation, you must keep in mind what skills are required in that particular job. So they also help to determine and define weigh compensable factors, that is the factors for which an organization is willing to pay. So if it is willing to pay for your skill, whether it is willing to pay for your experience, the effort or the working environment. So these aspects will come into play with the help of a job description. So job description will basically help you to devise a good compensation plan so that you pay according to the skills, according to the experience or the working environment. The next is the job evaluation. So it is the next step in the pay fixation, that is to establish the relative worth of jobs. So no two jobs have equal worth. You have to evaluate the job and determine what is its relative worth. So a number of techniques are available to evaluate jobs, and this we have covered in the previous lectures also. So you can go through those videos where we discussed about job evaluation. So for example, in point ranking method of job evaluation, each job is analyzed and defined in terms of the compensable factors an organization has agreed to adopt. Then the next is the job hierarchy. So the points assigned to all compensable factors are aggregated in the job hierarchy, and the total points scored will help establish the hierarchy of job worth, starting from the highest point total to the lowest point total. So this is how the job hierarchy will help you to devise a compensation plan. The next is the pay surveys. So what is a pay survey? It requires that a sample of key jobs and a sample of companies need to be selected, and then questionnaires could be mailed to select companies requesting them to furnish pay details relating to the key jobs. So you can just make a questionnaire and you can float it in these companies, and these companies will be industry specific, say for IT industry or pharma industry. So you can devise your pay plan according to what industry you are. So if you are an organization in a in the IT industry, say, so you will float some questionnaires to these IT companies and you can request the information relating to the pay details, relating to the jobs, that is what amount of remuneration each job is getting. So this information may also be collected over the phone also. Then after that is the pricing of the jobs. So in pricing jobs, the job evaluation worth is matched with the labor market worth. So here you will have to match the worth according to the labor market. So here two activities need to be performed. First is establishing the appropriate pay level for each job, and then you will group different pay levels into pay grades, and then you will devise a particular compensation that is to be given to the employee according to the pay level and the pay grades. So that was all regarding how the devising of a compensation or an effective compensation plan can be done. So friends, today we learnt about one of the many functions of HRM, that is compensation management. So we discussed about the importance of compensation, that no matter we say that we are not working for money, or at this level it is not money that attracts me, it is challenging work, it is this and that, but certainly we cannot deny the fact that every employee, no matter at what level he or she is working, they all need a good compensation from the organization, and this good compensation will not only motivate you, but it will help you to retain, to be satisfied, and to be more engaged in whatever work you are doing. So this is one psychology or human basic psychology that organizations also need to understand, that when you feel secure, you feel safe in terms of the amount of money that you are getting, you are more satisfied, you are relaxed, you are stress free, and you are more motivated to work better. And also one more thing that I would like to add is that when good work is not rewarded, then it brings in a lot of demoralization in the minds of the worker, because they feel that their hard work and their good work or dedication or loyalty towards the organization has not been compensated well. So in that case, employees, they generally change the organization, or they quit the job and the organization. So that is the importance of having a good compensation program. So we also learnt about the components of compensation: salary, wages, allowances, fringe benefits, perquisites. So all these combine together to make a good compensation, and what all is included in compensation that the organization pays to its employees. We also learnt about the factors that affect the compensation system of an organization, that is the external factors and the internal factors, and also the steps as to how to have a good compensation system. So that was all from compensation management for today. Thank you.